So I had my dad down recently. My dad is he's basically me, but 30 years older. Okay. And he's better looking. I think that's, not really up for debate. But he's autistic as well. Like, it's not diagnosed. It's not like for certain. No doctors have said this, but he's definitely autistic. Which is a weird thing to have to grapple with. If you're not, or if you're one of his wives. I say wife, like one of his wives. Like, he doesn't have like 10 different. It's not sort of, he's not from somewhere a bit weird and cultural. He's not a bigamist. I just mean, over the years, along his life's history. And, he's a good-looking dude, right? This is what's weird about it. He's a good-looking guy who I think, from women's perspective, from his wives' or girlfriends' perspectives over the years, he's a good-looking guy who then lures you in, right? And you're kind of then in a relationship with him until, at one point, you're like, wait, hang on a second. Why are there literally pages, like notepads, collections of notepads, entirely populated with just names and dates and lists of the hits of the 1960s? Why are you doing this? My dad's like, this means something. Like, it means something to him because he's autistic. Clearly, if you're a woman and you got together with my dad, you think you're getting together with some hot young. You think you're getting Benjamin Braddock, but actually, what you end up with is Rain Man. Little Dustin Hoffman reference for those of you out there who might appreciate it. 50-50, two different characters. My dad. I think that adequately describes my father's Riz levels. He's a nice guy, but he's just like not really there. I could just tell he's not really present, is a good way of describing it, I think. And it's not really his fault. Like, I don't think he can even really force himself to continue to pay attention to what you're saying for longer than like 5 or 10 seconds. He can't even force himself to do that and retain the information, but he can remember the first name and surname of everyone he ever went to school with. Like, it's really weird. He could tell, if he was here right now, he could tell you faultlessly who was at numbers 1, 2, and 3 in the top 40 charts in February of 1963. He could just do it like that. He wouldn't even have to think about it. And then here's the wild thing. It's like, whilst he's regaling you with this information about the top 10 in 1964, he would be unable to receive the information into his eyeballs to see that you are not interested in this information. Not even in the slightest are you engaged with this information that he's imparting to you. He's like, do you know Jerry and the Pacemakers had 5 hits in 1963 alone, and 4 of those were from the same EP? And you're like, oh my God! Amazing. He's like, yeah, it is actually really impressive, isn't it? Like, it is amazing, astonishing how disinterested in that I am. A lot of it, I suspect, now I'm old enough to know about these things. A lot of it is outside of his control, I think. So it's not a criticism when I talk about this stuff, it's just what he's like. It's who he is, right? Never been any different, and he's not going to change now. He's not going to alter his entire personality now, is he? Unless dementia robs him of it, like that might change, improve things. If this is your dad too, like maybe you're listening to this and you go, oh my God, that's the same as my dad, right? If this is your dad as well, you should just take strength in knowing that you just know who he is at this point. We know who these people are, and it's fine. You just know how to handle them. It's just who they are. They're not going to change. All right? If you think they're going to change, like, are you kidding yourself? Really? Are you really think that my dad at 78 years old is going to be like sitting and reflecting Maybe phoning my children when they were 6 years old and spending 25 minutes straight talking to them about the ins and outs of BBC contracts or the ups and downs of broadcast journalism. Maybe explaining that stuff endlessly to a 6-year-old over the phone. Maybe that wasn't, on reflection in hindsight, maybe that wasn't the best way to bond. It's just who they are. So it's not a critique, more just an observation. And it's fine, totally fine. It's just a way of me describing to you guys what my father is like. Like, it's hilarious, really. Like, he's totally oblivious and yet not. Like, I can't really articulate it for you. Like, how detached and how, like he divorced my mum, right, when I was 4 years old. And then he moved away, like, not round the corner. He moved an hour away. We were in Maidenhead in Berkshire, and he moved right out into Wiltshire. He moved an hour away, and then he complained. He's like, I just feel like I'm sort of losing touch with the, but like you moved to fucking Wiltshire. The fuck is wrong with you? And that happened twice. And again, I'm not having a go. I'm not having a go. I'm just saying it is hilarity to observe this detachment, this what is it? It is a sort of a boomery dance on the spectrum. Because it happened twice. At the second time, he divorced his second wife, and he moved up to the arse end of Norfolk. Like, the bit that pokes out of Britain, looks like a handbag, like a shoulder sort of barge coming out or something. He moved up to the top, the northernmost point of that, away from Berkshire. We're all the way down here, right? Like, over 2 hours away. And he's like, well, it'd be nice if you came up and visited. I feel a little bit cut off from everyone. And me and my brother were like, yeah, that tends to happen when you pack up all of your shit into a lorry and move 200 miles. What do we have to do to explain the mechanics and the responsibility of this to you? Like, have we got to weave it into the lyrics of a Mersey beat hit from the 60s for it to fucking sink in? Sing it and wobble our heads just to get it to be absorbed, for it to matter to you. And I know that some of you are probably thinking, well, hang on a second. He worked in broadcast journalism, Aid, and he did the news. And now here you are, obsessed with the news, and you are broadcasting. So maybe your issue here, Aid, is actually that you and your father are more similar than you would like. But first off, there's no issue. There's no issues. Plural. They are not criticisms, as I've, come to pains to point out. He's a nice guy. He's just somewhere on the spectrum. And that's fine, But it is also objectively hilarious at times. And also, while we're on the subject, I can promise you that we are very different people. Like, we definitely have our differences, myself and my father. We're very, very different people in a lot of ways. How, Aid? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you, imaginary listener. So first, he's way more good at, like, music trivia than I am. Maybe that won't shock you because of all of, what I've just explained. I'm better with technology. He's hopeless with most of that kind of, like laptops, phones, whatever. He's sort of better with women than me. He's been more successful with women than, well, actually, I don't know. Has he though, really? He's achieved getting married. He's done that 3 times. So does that mean he has a better hit rate with women, or that he's failed more? It's hard to say. Our sense of humours are different too. What is he into? He's into Only Fools, Spike Milligan, Max Miller, whereas I am me. Like, you guys know the sort of stuff we joke about on here, and the fertile, if forlorn swamps from which we mine our comedy. Like, I was cracking a joke, right, the other night when he was down. Like, I think I'm a reasonably funny guy. You know, I know my way around a joke. While he's down, he's on the phone with his third wife. Okay? And they're catching up about his visit. And he's on the phone. And he's like, yeah. Then we watched a couple of movies. Adrian, what was the films that we watched last night? And I'm like, Home Alone 2 for the kids. And then after that, Final Destination. And then he's like, oh, yeah. And then he tells his wife on the phone, right? And then afterwards, after he's hung up, I'm like, yeah, it's quite weird, really, isn't it? Like with those two films, like purely by coincidence, we ended up watching two movies where they are both about really terrible in-air flight situations. And he's like, oh, yeah, I suppose we did. Maybe next time Hollywood could save us a couple of hours when they could amalgamate them into one movie where Kevin takes the wrong plane and then it bursts into flames. Like, even now it makes me laugh. And my dad's just like, what? And I still think this is hilarious. I'm like, because it's the two films are both about the, it's fun. It's like a link, the comedic link, Dad. My dad's like, right. Yeah, I just, I mean, it's a bit dark, to be honest. Then I'm like, yeah, I suppose it is. But, I mean, you did break up the family, Pops. I don't know if you were expecting an emotionally healthy sense of humor over here. Go fuck yourself.
Just another video with Adrian Thompsin.